So the meeting is now recorded. Do you want me to introduce you, or you good to go?
Go ahead.
I'd like to, this is our webinar on club growth. I'd like to introduce our club growth director, Melinda McCormick. I'd also like to acknowledge that we have our district director, Jonathan Baum, is in here as well as our finance manager, Heather Perkins. And without much more to say, I will pass the meeting over to Melinda McCormick, and I'll warn you when your time's running out in an hour. So unless you don't want me to watch the time. They're still coming in. And it's all yours, Melinda.
Please do. Thank you, Jim. And everyone, thank you for coming to our membership forum. Tonight, I'm very excited to introduce this year's District 45 Marketing Chair, Michael Paccito. He is the CEO and founder of a marketing company called Market Pie. He has agreed to donate his time and expertise this year to help District 45 grow clubs and members, and his primary focus, of course, is to help each and every one of us figure out how to not come from a sales perspective, but to still attract members. Michael currently is based out of a small town called, is it Smith Falls? Yes, Smith Falls, Ontario, which is just outside of Ottawa. And I am not going to steal any more of Michael's time because we're all here to learn and speak with him. So go ahead, take it away, Michael. Unless, did we just lose him?
Nope. I guess my mic got muted at some point. All right. So thank you very much, Melinda. I really appreciate you bringing this all together. You truly do a lot behind the scenes, and I just want to recognize that. It's something I would lose my head if I had to do half the things you're doing. And for everyone else, I really appreciate you guys coming by. As Melinda said, my name's Mike. I'm from Market Pie, little marketing agency in a small little town. And really today, I kind of, as an outsider, this is my first time joining Toastmasters. I've been in for a couple months, and I was kind of brought on and inspired by Jeremy. If everyone knows Jeremy from DeMerchant from Permission to Sell, he kind of gave me a bit of a thing where I was asking, Toastmasters, I was thinking of joining it, Jeremy. What do you think? Like, would it be good for me? And he's like, I came into Toastmasters and I went all in on it, and it absolutely changed my life for the better. And when he said that, I just said, okay, well, he seems to believe it a lot. So I just said, well, why don't I just try doing that too? So here I am, a couple months in, jumping into a board position, and I think I really can give a lot of value to you guys. And I really don't want to use most of this time for talking about myself or what I've done, because the reason why I've had a lot of success in the few successes I've had in different businesses and marketing is that I really don't have all the answers. A lot of people ask the question, well, how do we grow members? How do I make my business go? How do I make my organization get more participation in? And the actual answer is that there is no real one answer. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it. It would be really simple, and everyone would be flourishing really easily. The reality is that we have to have moments like this where everyone comes together, we all share our ideas, and we really try and get to the actual understanding of what are the challenges we're facing. What are the things that are actually the roadblocks, whether it's a mental roadblock, whether it's a software thing, we don't have the tools to use, or whether it's just a strategy. Maybe we're just missing one of those things, or it's a combination of all of those. So this meeting is going to be a lot of me listening and just asking you guys a lot of questions. So I really hope we can get some participation in. It's going to be Mike's kind of free kind of aside. Obviously, we're all going to be respectful and not just talking over each other. But I really, if someone has something that they want to contribute, please feel free to just unmute, jump right in, and we'll try and we'll just kind of get things going. Because if we don't, as I was talking with Jim and Melinda earlier, it's like, hey, if I ask some really tough questions and we get some answers that you guys were not happy to hear. Is that totally fine? And I got the okay. So we really need to just be as transparent as possible, because for me to actually successfully help Toastmasters and all the different groups, we have to just really be open. And what are the issues we're facing? What are the roadblocks? And also, what are the things that really work? Because oftentimes, especially when we're drawing people from all over, there's a lot of successes that you guys have all brought. And we just need to sometimes sometimes the best thing to do is not just me come up with all the ideas, but just come up and pull out what you guys already have been doing for the years, especially you guys who have been in it for a long time, and you've kind of seen what works and what doesn't. So that's the kind of feedback that I'm hoping to get out. I'm going to be taking lots of notes. And as we said, we're recording this. So that's kind of my introduction. So the very first thing I want to ask, and let's use the chat for a bit. So if you guys have a little bit of, if you can open up the chat, and I just kind of want to hear from where you guys are from. So if you guys could just get things started, nice, easy question to begin with, throw in the chat, tell me where you're from. Is it a city, a province? Tell me. We got some, Burlington. Oh yeah, because we have some in the States too. That's cool. Halifax and PEI, Stefan, Central Maine. Oh, welcome. I got to admit, I'm a sucker for American accents. I hear American accents, and always my favorite is Southern accents too. I know Maine's a little bit more north, a little different, but just all the different accents. Fredericton. Okay. So lots of East Coast. I'm one of the few people then again that's just out more in the Ontario side. So not too long. And anyone else from the Ontario area? No, none. All right, cool. Lebanon, NH. Wow. Where's Lebanon? That's not Lebanon? Is in in the Middle East? Is that, or is that another city? So cool. So the very first thing that we got to know is, when we're thinking about how do we kind of grow, how do we grow a club? The first thing that I always like to know is, how many people here are really, really interested in growing? Just raise your hand. You could use the chat. You can that. Yeah, we're all here. We all really want to grow. And the very first thing is that it's not the lack of willpower. I think everybody here has tried different things. If the only reason you're taking some time on a Sunday to come spend some time is that you've put some time, effort in. So I want to kind of hear from you guys. What is one of the biggest challenges that you guys have faced? If we could get some people just, again, using the chat, what's one of the things that's been the hardest thing about when someone says, okay, we got to grow new members and we got to grow our membership? What's the biggest fear? Is it a roadblock? Member engagement. So Karen, actually, maybe I won't call out Karen. So disengagement of current members, lack of in-person connections, getting guests to come back. Oh my, so we're already detecting a bit of a theme here. Does anyone want to jump on the mic and maybe share something? Just hop right in. We don't need to call out there. Does anyone have something to share? Just go on.
This is Karen. So for member engagement, we're really working hard to raise the profile of our club and our community, and trying to get our members to share our message and just to buy into the club. And we're just not getting it. So it's really hard to grow a club if you're not getting your members engaged.
That's a powerful one, right? Because it's sometimes, especially in marketing on a business side, the first thing is always about, okay, let's get new sales. Let's go get new sales. But what about kind of the prospects that you already have? Sometimes it's trying to look at what things are internal. So that's a great observation. So thank you for sharing that. We had Zoom overload as well. Oh, totally get it. I mean, there's, it used to be maybe even if you're an online club, like I'm from an online only club, and, Zoom was kind of like my area for doing special things. And now it's like all I do. Member search burnout. Sharon, do you mind sharing a bit about the burnout, or do you feel comfortable jumping on?
Sure thing, not a problem, Mike. We are in a position where we have low numbers in our club. Mm-hmm. And of course, that means that you don't have as many people to take on the responsibilities of going out and finding new members and everything else that goes with that. I'm currently the club secretary treasurer, but I'm also doing a lot of PR work and a lot of membership building work. And that's kind of been the case for a while. And after a bit, it does get rather trying. And especially when you have a smaller group in your club, trying to put on really good club meetings, that's another difficulty because you don't have enough people to take on the roles, and the whole, it's just a self-perpetuating cycle that continues and continues and continues. So
thank you for sharing that. And again, in the chat, guys, is that general? Is anyone else feeling that as well? Is anyone getting that kind of stuck in that cycle? Or is there anyone that has doesn't have that? Maybe is that not the challenge for someone, that you have members and you have lots of man hours? Tell me that. So we got some yeses. Do we have anyone that has an alternate side, maybe a different problem that maybe one of the larger clubs? So we got a couple yeses. Any no's? No? Cool. What are, so any other, before we move on, does anyone else have any other kind of challenges or roadblocks right off the bat that they'd like to share at all? I'll give a second for the chat there. We have a small core group of 5 people doing all the work to recruit and sustain the club. So Pareto principle in action, otherwise the 80-20 rule. You're always going to have, it's like 20% of the people doing 80% of the work, whether it's a business, whether it's a church, whether it's an organization, whether it's government, doesn't matter what it is. It always is the way. So we always pretend that we always have this idea in our head that, oh my goodness, everyone's going to come together, a big kumbaya moment. We're all just going to start pulling together, everyone pushing 100%. And that's just not how it is. So yeah, very few members. I'd love to have 5 people. Cool. So let's maybe turn it over. Oh, jumping Carol.
Yes, I'm sorry to say this, but you back and forth from that microphone, so we're not getting sort of an even speech from you. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. Try to
stand still. I appreciate you bringing that up there, Carol.
I want to hear what you have to say. And
I'll be honest. I'm a little nervous. I don't get to. I mean, doing it when you're in a group of people. I've done presentations before, and people. You always have it there, but the Zoom's always weird, right? Because I'm looking at the camera and not the people, and it's yeah. So I appreciate you giving me that feedback. So let's maybe flip the coin over and maybe talk about a couple successes. So does anyone here have maybe a story or something that's worked for them? Even if it's in a small way, it doesn't have to be, yeah, we grew 50 members in, 3 weeks or something. But what are some strategies that you guys feel does work for you guys currently? Does anyone have some ideas or some things that and you can feel free to, again, just jump right in on that.
I'm like something I've been doing for quite a while now is creating a Facebook event for each meeting. Wonderful. And going through my friends list and inviting everybody. I also share that event on all the local community concerns Facebook pages. And that does help spread the word. However, it's been successful in getting some people to visit the club. We don't always get people to sign up, but that is, Facebook is a great way, or any social media platform is a great way to get the word out. I've found
that's a great observation. Yeah, Facebook, and it's also been, I think, said earlier on, which is, sometimes it's easy to kind of get a couple people in, but then how do you keep them engaged, especially when your resources are thin? Everyone's just trying to, they're doing their thing, and you want to capitalize on it. I think one person said, we had 9 new members. They only lasted a year. Actually, Catherine, do you mind sharing a little? Catherine Hand, I can't see the full name. Do you mind maybe sharing that thing? What worked really well to get 9 new members in? And we'll deal with the negative side of that in a second. Catherine Hansen, there we go. Oh, you have to, I can't hear you. Would you be able to speak up just a little, or maybe move your microphone closer? Oh, oh, now it's cutting in and out. Sorry about that. So we'll jump in there. So actually, Karen, I think you brought up Sharon. Sorry, not Karen. You brought up something about Facebook. So how many people here, just again using the chat, yes, no, how many people here use social media to try and grow their club right now?
Hello, am I coming through yet?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I had to play with my settings. It stopped working yesterday on Zoom.
If just because we got everyone, I'll come back to that question there. So
yeah,
just
we're
give me a
using
second.
WhatsApp at the moment. Our new VP of PR is using WhatsApp to loop people in and keep them engaged and remind them of meetings.
So Cindy Lee, you just said no, and again, hopefully you don't mind me putting you on the spot as well. But what's been a struggle? Do you mind maybe sharing a little bit on why social media hasn't been used yet? Is it that maybe you just don't have anyone who's comfortable on social? No time to do it. What's a reason that you?
Well, first I'll test my audio.
It sounds great.
Oh, good. Sometimes I sound like Minnie Mouse, so as people may have remembered. Anyway, what has my personal fear of social media and lack of knowledge of how to easily use Facebook and other platforms, and throughout the clubs that I'm directly involved with, we don't have a whole lot of other people who are either savvy or have the time or interested. It's kind of all the things that you touched on. And I think it's one of those things where if I'd spent a half hour focusing on and realizing how simple it is to do, then I would change things around a bit, and haven't found that half hour yet.
It'll come. Yeah, and I think what you've touched on, tell me if anyone else, and again, the chat, yes, no, is the reason why that people might feel not as comfortable doing things. Is it that you don't have like a process in place? And does not having a process is that keeping you from really going hard on social? Or do people have processes? You can disagree and say, no, we got a process and we're comfortable, or yeah, a process could really help me on social. So again, chat yes if a process would help you, or no if you're already comfortable. Not knowing where to start, says Melinda. Process would help me, yeah. So Betsy Black, another member, does it. That's great. And another member handles this. She does a great job. It's awesome to hear. We don't need no stinking processes, Stefan. Just one person handles it. So that's actually interesting, Marie. So not just one person handles it. So what's really cool, I mean, again, we're thinking about the 80-20 rule. We're never going to expect all members to do something. One of my theories that I have for Toastmasters, because what obviously, we're using a volunteer army. We don't have an unlimited budget of money, and we certainly don't have an unlimited budget of time. One of the theories that I have is that we really have to make things really easy for people. If we complicate things and we have some, a lot of hoops people have to jump through, and there's like a certain group of people that'll go all in. A lot of you guys here are maybe those people, right? That want to spend the time, are willing to learn, willing to be trained. Then there's that circle around them of people that are willing to do the work, and they'll do some work and they might get some training and then they might stick with something for a bit. But if there's some obstacles pop up, I got better. I have more important things to do. And then there's that circle around them that will only do things if it's as easy as just click, share, 1, 2, and done, right? So one of the things is that I'm going to be and the reason why we're having these questions is to make sure that we solve the right problem, because if we go in and come up with a solution that's too complicated, well, then we're going to be missing the mark. So, so that's good there. So process well, 80% of people, or over 40-ish, are on Facebook. Yeah, I run campaigns with people over 60, for people over 65, and everyone's on Facebook. Even the older people, they've braved it. I was just teaching Facebook and social media and Zooms to a bunch of senior center to get their 11 board members, and some of them didn't even have emails. So, but even some of them are starting to get on, because but their challenge has always been, what is the steps that I have to do, and can it be repeated, because we don't have unlimited time to be training. So I'll go into another. Actually, Catherine, right? I was going to ask you there about what really worked getting you those 9 members in. If you could maybe share a bit of the positive side of that story.
Sure. Is it coming through better now?
Oh, it's sounding great. Yeah.
Okay. I dug up my headset. So we had Joe Grondin. You might not know who Joe is. Everybody else on the call probably does. He's from Moncton, New Brunswick, and he's been to the World Public Speaking semifinals 6 or 7 times as our representative. So we had him come do a lunch and learn on a topic that attracted the business world. And so we had 30 or 40 people come to the lunch and learn, and then we had 9 people come and join. Some of the people that joined us are from one of the companies in our town that they don't feel able to take time off at lunch, because we're a lunchtime club. So we have extra challenges because we're in the middle of the day, so you get stuck with business, and they don't feel like they are allowed to say, I'm sorry, I'm gone. And so we don't keep anyone from that company. I try not to market to them because I know they won't come.
But there's something really powerful that you just touched on, and I'm going to pivot on that. And I'm going to ask everyone a kind of question here. In the chat, does your club have its own defined personality or theme, if you want to call it, or style? Does anyone if someone asked you, what's your Toastmasters, what makes your Toastmasters club different than someone else? Do you feel that most people in your club would say, oh, this is what makes us different? One short sentence. Yes or no in the chat, if you don't mind. Can you describe what your club is all about? Marie, Wesson, and if you can, please, yeah, throw it out there. I mean, if it's simple, we should be able to, in a couple, 2 or 3 words, be able to put it out there. So casual, non-competitive, Marie. That's good. I mean, our club is probably the opposite. We're trying to be an advanced club, so it's always pushing the envelope. We're reimagining ourselves. We lost 4 members. Yeah, Karen, I definitely understand. And we were talking about engagement, right? So Sharon Allen says we used to. Betsy Black says, yes, we have high standards, strong membership over a long period of time, many long-time members. So obviously my sample size is very, very small, but just from those couple questions and comments, we can probably make a hypothesis. I am really not a science person, so hopefully I'm using the terms all correctly, but we could probably make a hypothesis that one of the issues with engagement and one of the issues on getting people on board is that maybe not having that niche that you're solving. And yes, Toastmasters in general attracts a whole variety of people, and we're never saying you never want to say no to people. But my Toastmasters group, it's called Beyond Toastmasters, and it's about taking Toastmasters and going beyond and becoming speakers. If you're in our group, if you want to be a public speaker on the stage, on the world, and whatever. And so it's very easy for this club to grow because we have a very defined niche of what we're going after. The types of people that want what we're offering, they're coming to it for that. I joined Toastmasters because I had that one idea, and Catherine just was very awesome in her story. If you listen to that story, you would have picked up that she said we had an expert in his field talking about for businesses. And he said something specific to the business community, and they got a lot of business. Now, yes, they all left afterwards. So that's the second half of the story, but still it's showing the idea of having a bit of a focus for what your club is all about. And if you can simplify it into 1 or 2 words, or maybe a short sentence, that's one way of giving your whole club a way of rallying behind it. And the other thing that happens too is I'm going to be honest, I've been watching the Toastmaster forums groups, and I think what's really kind of important is that people always want to feel like this is part of their own. They want to feel that they're being listened to. They want to feel that they're partaking in. And if they're not hearing that from the people above them, right? So us at our level, when Toastmasters International does things and it doesn't sound like they've listened to us, or feels like what they're doing is different than what we're doing here, then we're going to not feel as engaged. Likewise, in your own clubs, if you as the leadership or as the leader team in your clubs don't have a really strong way of communicating what your club's all about and giving it to the people that are coming and going are going to be like, well, the president of the club and the people running it, like, I don't know what they're all really about. So by giving them something saying, hey, we're trying to be casual, non-competitive, like that might be your club's kind of idea. Or it could be that, this is, friends telling stories to each other. I'm making stuff up as we go here, right? So but the idea of saying, hey, that kind of a club is probably different than a casual, non-competitive club. Casual is still saying, hey, we're casual. Anyone from any kind, any type of person can come. Whereas another one's like, we're friends telling stories to each other and building camaraderie. It's maybe a little bit more intimate as opposed to being a more general, I want to join a club to learn speaking side. So I think that would be one area. Then we're going to do some surveys after so we can prove these hypotheses. But the very first thing I can tell you as a value thing is that if you don't know what your club is all about, then the people who are joining aren't going to know what it's about. And the people who are there aren't going to know why they want to stay. So coming up with that one thing that you can rally behind, I think would be really useful as at the very little bit of evidence we got there. So I'm just going to read there a couple: informal, friendly, supportive, not sure. We had a big impact with English as an additional language members over the year. Okay, so adding another language, yeah. Sometimes some of the clubs, their thing is they're an international group and they have people from all over. Cool, so I'll just jump to my next question here so we keep things moving and respectful of the time. Cool, so one of the things that I'm going to be asking about then is social media. So one of the things about social media is it's really kind of, so we've been talking about getting a process in. So one of the things I'd kind of ask from you guys, if again, using the chat here, what would people think about getting some training on social media? Would that be something that you guys would find useful, not useful? Is social media, actually, the first question I missed to ask is, do people feel that social media is something that is really going to be a key to unlocking their club? And by the way, like, please don't worry about offending me. If you think no, and social media isn't, I kind of want to hear that too, right? In fact, that would be the more important question. That'd be the most valuable thing to find if there is anyone that thinks that social media isn't the way forward. Useful if there are specific suggestions. It attracts younger people, especially right now in the pandemic, right? It seems to be our lifeline for most things right now. Social media training, process training, what to share, how often to share it. So one of the things I've been proposing to Melinda and some of the other team members here is to do social media training. It's something I do with businesses all the time. And I wanted to kind of come up with a way of adapting it for Toastmasters. But I would really kind of also, if we were to provide a kind of a training for people, I'd kind of like to hear from you guys, what are some of the things that you guys would like to get out of it? Because I can talk about, making posts. I could talk about, when to post. I could talk about all kinds of different things, but I'd kind of like to hear from you guys is if you were to get some free social media training, what would be the sort of things, what would be your biggest questions about social? I think I'm good with social media given my day job. My biggest challenge is getting people to sign up and getting members engaged. So yeah. So one of the biggest challenges that I've noticed is that Toastmasters is the internet's or the world's like best kept secret. And if in marketing, that's not a good thing. Usually you don't want to be a secret when it comes to that. And I found this really interesting is because when I'm in a Toastmasters meeting, there's so many great moments that happened. And please define social media for me. That's a good one. That's a very important thing, define social media. So what I'm kind of asking about is, okay, you know what, that's a good way to go down. So I'm going to pivot again. How many clubs, yes, just a yes or a no in chat, how many clubs are actually using social media and again in their club? I just needed to see, I think I might have asked that earlier, but I just needed that. And is there actually a better question? How many are not using it right now? And they know they're not using it as a club, not just individually but as a club. Is anyone? Twitter, what would be newer platforms? What's the best way to advertise your club? So Albert, I'll jump in on that. That's a great question, Albert. The best way to advertise your club is to give people value. So Melinda asked me to saying, well, how do we use social media without selling to people? Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm the world's worst salesperson. I hate selling. Selling to me is, I'm not saying sales is bad. We all have to do it. But it's the idea of persuading people that don't want to do something. So the best way to use social media, in my opinion, is to not do any sales at all. And it's not to even do any advertising. What you really want to be doing with social media is sharing what is valuable and useful to people, and the interesting stories that happen, documenting the good times you guys have. I mean, the world watches cat videos, and now it's, instead of watching cat videos, we're just sending cat gifts to each other and all that. But people like to be entertained. They like to see things. They like to kind of hear inspiring stories. So if I had to ask another question to you guys, how many people in 90% of your Toastmasters meetings hears something inspirational, uplifting, or positive? Just lift up your hand. You know, I see everybody here and there. Do you hear something uplifting and positive, right? So if we really enjoy that content, what do you think? Do you think the kind of content that you hear that inspires you in these meetings, would that be the sort of things that people would want to just see on their Facebook feed? Like if you had nothing to do with Toastmasters and didn't care, would you want to listen to some of the nuggets of advice, the insights that you hear and, you know, on some of these pathways programs? So yeah. So the absolute best way is to actually use what you're already doing. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is companies that they go in and they get a big video production crew and they spend all this money and they spend all this time making all this, you know, this one really big video, when all the things that are actually interesting about their company are already happening. All they got to do is hit the record button. And I think if now I'm just free floating these ideas here, me just spitballing, but what if you took the content that's in your Toastmasters meeting and you hit the record button and you found someone, or maybe you pooled your resources of a couple clubs together and, you know, had someone that all they did was just kind of, they can cut up I mean, anyone could do that. You can do it on your phone fairly easily. You're cutting up the speeches you're giving. And maybe like a funny moment that happened, and you just shared that. Do you think people would understand what Toastmasters is about more if people saw that content as opposed to kind of the explanation of what is Toastmasters? Maybe in the chat, yes. Is that something that's valuable to you? Is that starting to connect the dots? And of the people who are saying yes, does anyone have anything that they're resonating with that they want to jump in with? Have a thought that's coming to mind right now? And again, just jump on the mic if anyone has a thought that they'd like to share. And Melinda, I'm surprised you haven't jumped in yet. You always have a thought to share. Lots of ideas. No? Does anyone have Yeah, no one's resonating. I cannot splice videos, but I can hit record on my phone and could give a little blurb. Yeah. The cool thing about social is and this is just a general, again, I'm kind of going into training mode and I'm watching the time here. Um, the one thing I'd also want to share with all you guys is that social media is about actually connecting with people. Marketing isn't about sales and things like that. What it really is about building relationships at scale using, using the internet. And if you think about it as building relationships, do you want to build your relationships based off of trying to tell more people about Toastmasters or convincing them to join? Or do you just want to build relationships by giving someone interesting, inspiring someone, sharing something? Like uh, I'm, I'm sure many of you guys here have some stories about when you first started in Toastmasters. Actually, do we have anyone here that has a really interesting story about how they joined Toastmasters? I'd actually love to hear someone, just if they don't mind, jump. Oh, Catherine, Catherine. Does anyone else? Because Catherine's, we've already asked. I'll bug Catherine. Anyone have a story that they want to share? Just raise your hand if you're in the video there. Just got to move it so I can see. Does anyone have a story about how they joined Toastmasters, or we'll just pick on Catherine again? No. All right, Catherine, you raised your hand, so we'll go for you there. Jump. What was your reason? Why did you join Toastmasters?
I was at the time in charge of purchasing computers for the phone company around New Brunswick and installing them. And I had to go to the director and explain. And by the time I finished talking to him, he was confused and I was confused. And I walked out of his office and I went to a young manager that I knew. And I said, I can't explain anything without confusing people. And she said, you need Toastmasters. And I was a member within a week.
That's awesome. And you see, like a story like that, I mean, those are the sort of things that people like interested. You'd be really surprised about how many people actually pay attention to your social media. Oftentimes we get so focused on the likes. You post something, you think, oh, I just shared something really cool, and like 3 people liked it, and you're like, no one liked it. But one thing I've noticed is I'm a sort of person who, I don't talk about controversial stuff as much anymore, but I definitely, on my own personal social, I'm not saying fluffy stuff, right? I'm saying things that I really care about. And I've always noticed that for that reason is I don't always see people engage with it, but I always get people when I see them in person saying, hey, Mike, I've been watching your stuff for a while and I really appreciate how you said this and how, you said this thing, and, or even the mundane stuff, I've just been following your journey as you've been growing in business. These aren't people that are liking all my posts. I don't care about the likes. I care about the fact that, I'm sharing a bit of, people understand me a little bit better. I'm sharing my story and people actually do watch it. Right. So I think one of the other areas is if you're only looking at likes and immediate kind of feedback for whether or not you should be posting on social, it's really easy to get discouraged and like, oh, it's, members aren't coming in, or we're not getting a lot of views, or we're not getting lots of likes. But the real challenge, if I've been looking through a lot of your guys' feedback here, is oftentimes is we just need an actual goal that we need to go towards and consistently stick at it. Because social, I think anyone here has ever tried posting lots on social, you get that, you post a couple things and you're good the first week, and then week number 2 comes and it's a little, you're pushing yourself to do it. Week 3, maybe you miss week 3, and then you get back into it week 4, and then by the end of the month you're kind of spent and done. So I think one of the things that I really want to bring to Toastmasters is I really want to try and come up with, if I had to sum everything up that we've been talking about here, is a very simple way for us to increase the engagement of our members so that we can build better relationships with social, and really get excited about kind of sharing our own personal stories of our clubs. Because my clubs versus Catherine's clubs versus Sharon's club, we all have our own unique kind of genesis story, what we like, the kind of humor that we have. Like, it's always funny when a new member, a traveling member, one of those traveling members comes in, and you can just tell that they got their own kind of flow or their own little, quirks on how they run a meeting. I think if we can share, if we can give members a very easy way to share their club and their story, I think that would be the best way to grow members, because it's something that would be easier to do because we're not trying to come up with some fancy official Toastmasters marketing. We're all not marketers. We're just people here who happen to really love Toastmasters and love what it's done for us. So I'm going to send out one final question before I wrap things up. Is I kind of wonder if anyone has any other thoughts, questions, kind of concerns. And I'm going to be sending a survey after this. So if you're not the type that likes to share, I'm going to be sending an anonymous survey. You don't have to log in or anything. I'm not collecting any, we're not collecting emails or anything like that. I just want to be able to get some good feedback from you guys. And it's going to go over a lot of the questions that we asked today. But does anyone else have any other kind of thoughts, something that they've resonated with, or just even a question that they'd like to get out before we kind of go to the next phase of this? Melinda, you're right. One of the most successful clubs I've attended use their social media to celebrate successes daily. They recap meetings, have themes for the next meetings, post pictures showing the fun. Lots of work, but you can get a lot of that. You don't have to start there at everything. You just pick one of the things Melinda just talked about. So many of us are passionate about Toastmasters, but I never thought about just telling people what I love about Toastmasters. Isn't that funny? Never thought about just telling people what you love about. I think it's so easy to get caught up on growth and marketing stuff when the real answers is you guys have all the answers, and they're all locked up in here, and it's all locked up in your individual groups. So anyway, to close things out, I think that's a good way to end, Melinda there. So the next steps is I'm going to be sending out a survey. In fact, how about I just post it right here so we don't have to wait for the, don't just send it to Karen, send it to everybody. So if you guys could take maybe, I think it should be fairly quick. It might only take about 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you have a lot you want to say. I don't think, but if you guys could really fill that out, I'd really appreciate it, because what I'm going to be doing from here is coming up with a customized training program for all the clubs. And what I really want to be able to do is to solve some of the problems we've talked about and some of the ones that you guys are going to share that maybe you didn't feel like sharing. And I really want to be able to give the ability for everyone to have that voice. But to do that, I have to be really crystal clear to make sure that I'm giving you guys something that you're going to get value of, because the last thing I want to do is just add another Zoom meeting for us all to go to that we're not getting value out of. But I really also want to be able to get this open to the members, because, renewals and things are coming up. And I think just being able to share with your members in your own team saying, hey, guys, we're getting some training. Maybe it's even open to the members. This is another reason to stick with Toastmasters, because you're learning, getting education. It's not just about this public speaking. It's building your network. It's building your own, skills that you're getting someone. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to also be starting a Facebook group as well to be able to get your guys' feedback, so I can give you guys feedback, answer questions, so it's not just one-on-one. It can be, you have a question, put it in the public group so that everybody can benefit from it. So again, if you guys have any other questions or things that you think about as soon as the meeting's over, because that's always how it is, please feel free to just add that into the meeting. So without that, I thank you very much for your guys' time, and I'm really looking forward to the future, because it's bright. Melinda?
Right. Thank you, Michael. And the whole point of tonight, the reason why we called it a membership forum rather than membership training, is this is the first of many. So Michael is going to take all the information that we give him out of the survey, the feedback that we gave him tonight, and he's going to put together some tips and some process. How do we market? How do we move forward? we're all going to need something different from him. So he's going to kind of bucket everything into different categories and roll it out, because some of us may need all of the tips and all of the training, and some of us may be interested in one or two aspects, but not everything. And that's what is wonderful about this process, is it's going to be customized by Michael specifically for our needs. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Michael or the rest of the group before we go? We do have a few minutes left before the top of the hour, so we can definitely open it up for some discussion if everyone wants to take a few more minutes.
If people have things they need to go to, they feel free to jump out or just jump on the survey. But if anyone has questions, I'll stay till until the questions get boring. So I'm here. So yeah.
Carol Ann here.
Hey, Carol Ann.
Hi, Michael. And crew. Very much appreciated. One of the two little words that you can transpose that'll make a tremendous difference to you is the word Toastmasters and the word opportunities. If you use opportunities more than you use the word Toastmasters, you'll get a long ways further, faster.
What did you say? Unlimited opportunities? Is that what you said?
No. I'm not sure just what I said, but it wasn't unlimited. But faster acceleration of where you want to go. Like if you say Toastmasters does this, Toastmasters does that, and when I walk into a club and that's the first thing I hear, I want to walk out. It's repetition. It's not fresh. It's not new. It's the name of a club, but it's not what you're offering. You're offering opportunities for faster acceleration. I think that's what I said. So would you like to, put your learning curve to get to your next promotion on a fast track? Join us on whatever day. We have a Toastmasters meeting and we will get you there for that opportunity. And you keep threading opportunity into that ribbon. And it's the little knot that gets them to the next place and the little knot that gets them to the next place every time you say opportunity.
Yeah,
it works for us. And we think sometimes we have to say Toastmasters all the time, and really it gets very boring and annoying for me,
I think that,
or any company.
I think that's a great point.
Go ahead, please.
And I really appreciate that, right? And I think what's really important, and this is why I wanted to make this a Q&A thing, is that there's always a lot of tactics that work for different people, but it's, I think, sometimes giving people the permission to come up with their own internal thing. Like, is it opportunity? Might work for your group, but there might be another group that they're not, that's not going to resonate as well, because that group's not about pursuing opportunities to get to their next thing. Some people, it's a more social thing, and it's about friends, or it's about relationships, or whatever their idea is about a club. Our club's all about be a speaker, right? But the important thing I think everyone can take from you is to know what you're about, know what works, and go for it and make it your own. So thank you for sharing.
If when you're separating the club and the formation of the club, and this works for our club because they're young, medium, and gray hair professional group at noontime. So we are quick, precise, happy, learn, take something out the door. And it's, so that word opportunity works well for us in that sequence of order, which I mentioned. And you took that into a social environment where you thought it would not work. On another time with more time, I would like to address that. But right now, somebody else may have a little something to say.
Thank you. Any other questions? We can even jump into the weeds too. If anyone has anything they want to jump in the training, like please, I'll answer any question on any topic that I feel I can give value anyway. And yes, my name is spelled Micheal, Marie. Yeah, it's a funny thing when you're giving birth to a child, your spelling isn't the first thing that's on your mind. And I asked my own, what is it? Were you trying to be different? Was there someone you know? It's like, no, I was just given birth. And I'm just like, oh, well, thank you. I'll take it.
Makes you stand out. My home club is a small town club, and as much time as I've spent with you already, I have so many more ideas for our next executive committee meeting, because we are really struggling with membership right now. We've really recruited all the people we know already, so now what? But just the whole idea of sitting down as an executive and defining our club and deciding how we want the personality we want to attribute to that club and how to promote it. And then we'll pull the different people, because there's so many of us that are there for different reasons. So we can give all of those different reasons and promote the club. I mean, this is before you've even come up with anything for us. So at least tonight gave me a starting point to go back to my club with, and I really appreciate that. So thank you, Michael.
Oh, thank you, Melinda. It's so important to get that idea of what you're about. And I think the challenge is that you always feel that you're saying no to people. And the reality is that this is a world of opportunity, as that lady was. I can't remember the name because I'm bad with names. But it's finding finding your biggest opportunity and not worrying about the few people that'll say no because you've defined yourself. So David Cormier, yeah, you had a question? I'd love to.
Yes, I have a question. Basically, one thing I've been wondering is, we can do all this social media exposure. How do people actually log on to a meeting, onto a Zoom meeting? Where's the training for that?
The Zoom training would be something that, I mean, this is actually, that's a great thing, is because if we don't know that, maybe that's one of the challenges we're facing right now. We all take it for granted. I took it for granted that everyone's used Zoom, right? Because of the pandemic, but maybe that's now that's not going to be my thing. I mean, if someone wants me to do Zoom training, I guess I could do that. It's not the thing I'm the best at.
It's not my question. What I mean, or what I'm trying to get at, is a lot of the clubs that we have presently, if a guest wanted to go and attend a club, even to log on into the meeting, how do they access this right now? There's a lot of clubs that are not set up for it.
Yeah, so understanding that, and if people also have that as an issue, I'm very glad you shared that, because that might be the first problem we have to solve first. Is not how do we get more members in, knowing about Toastmasters, but can people actually join? Because if they can't join, all the marketing in the world doesn't help.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Any other thoughts that people have? Any other things that they'd like to share? No?
Michael, what's the name of your club?
Beyond Toastmasters. Beyond Toastmasters. It's a online only group, and we meet on every second Monday, and alternating Mondays and Monday evenings and Tuesday mornings. Yeah, it's interesting. I got a special permission to join it because apparently you need a home club to join an advanced club, and I don't know. Someone pulled some strings for me. Maybe it was Melinda. I don't know, but
It was Jeremy.
I'm breaking all the rules. It's probably Jeremy then.
Yeah. He waived that requirement on their club. So yeah, it's in Division C Beyond Toastmasters.
I'll probably join my local Smiths Falls ones. I think there's one here because, I mean, online's great, but like in person is it is obviously the pinnacle for speaking, right? I mean, I'm fairly comfortable online, so but I will be joined. But it's just funny little note.
Michael.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. Will you be looking at more than just Facebook and social media? You'll be looking at some of the options other people gave there. Like people have talked about Instagram. I don't know how you advertise on Instagram. So things like that, if you're going to have an opportunity to do more than one, that maybe branching out to those other ones, the ones you know that younger people go to instead of us, you know, established, what did you call that group you just gave training to?
Oh, the senior center.
Yeah, well, I don't want to use that word yet.
Not yet. You still look nice and vibrant. You still, yeah. Before I put foot in mouth, I suffer foot and mouth disease, actually. You know, my idea of training is customized. I'm not a person who comes up with like those fake guru, those courses you get, one course fits everybody and that kind of idea. What I like to do is to figure out what is the problems, talk to the people that, and actually like this, listen, and most importantly, listen, and then find out what is the actual problem we got to solve. And one of the, but my gut reaction is I'm not going to go in as much Facebook specific information. What I think is usually the biggest problem is what we've already identified, even just in this meeting, which is people don't know what their club is. And before you start worrying about TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat or anything else, you got to figure out what you're actually going to say before you go out there, right? It's just like in Toastmasters, you don't just jump in. Well, we'd like to hope that people don't just come to a meeting and give their speech and that's it. We'd like to think they figured out what they're going to say first, go through a process, and then and then go through. But and also I want to make sure the training is universal. I don't want it to be something where it's like, this is the only thing you can do. I want to teach people stuff that they can then take into their newspaper marketing. Like if I could teach people how to market themselves and talk about themselves, you can use that any marketing, whether it's a newspaper, a radio, whether it's social media, whatever it is. So I'm going to try and keep it, before I keep talking in circles, I'm going to try and keep it universal and adaptable kind of knowledge. But thank you for the question, Linda. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Linda, because that's a really good point. The fact that it gave Michael the opportunity to say, hey, you can use it in whatever. He's going to teach us fundamentals that we can use in our preferred style of advertising and recruiting potential members. So that's fantastic. I think too, right now we're kind of at the point of how do we get the members, and this is going to be a series. So right now we're talking about how are we going to market ourselves and how are we going to define our club and how are we going to go out there. But we'll eventually get to the point too where how do we close the deal? But that's down the line. We got to crawl before we can walk.
Oh yeah, totally. And I think the idea is also that we want to figure out the problem we want to solve and then also make it repeatable so that, I mean, it'd be great if I could do trainings nonstop every single week for all of Toastmasters. But I think being able to take something and give it to someone else, we need to make it so that you can say, hey, someone wants to volunteer, instead of telling them post on social and then they get overwhelmed, don't know what to do. Like, here's like some Toastmasters, like this is what what I've learned how to do. Here's how to do it. Here's a couple things to get started, kind of thing. So we are at 8 o'clock. Again, I'm totally down for answering questions. I'll stick around if anyone wants to keep this going, but just so I know some people need that permission to bounce out. If there goes a couple, but yeah, so please feel free that you don't need to stay. But I'll stay here if people want to get more value.
We're about to turn it back to Jim too, because he's going to talk about the next webinar. But I just want to encourage everyone, if you didn't get the link out of chat, then send me an email and I will send you the link, because the only way to be a part of the solution that Michael is going to begin to define for us is to give that feedback. Take that 5 minutes. Spending 5 to 10 minutes giving him feedback to help him give us a direction is a lot less time than we've all spent trying to recruit members in our traditional ways. So I'm definitely going to take a few minutes of time when we hang up, so that part of my needs are also addressed in what Michael does. So we are recording this. Eventually, when the new website is up, it's going to have a club growth section and the recording is going to be there. But if anybody wants this recording ahead of time, just reach out to me and we will send you that information. And again, reach out to me if you need the link. And Jim, are you back?
I'm here.
Are you there?
Oh yeah.
Sorry, you were here the whole time. I didn't mean back.
Yeah, I was
so
actually
go ahead.
here. So it's done. I'm going to stop the recording.